of Edo State for a conversation on modalities for implementing his Make Edo Great Again vision for governance during his second term in office, managing the internal dynamics of Edo State politics, his plans for security, education, agriculture development, trafficking and persons, management of COVID-19, among other issues. Your Excellency, the Governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, good morning and welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us on the Morning Show.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, Romain, and thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. Well, first, let us say congratulations to you, Your Excellency, and let us all join the excited people of Edo State in saying Ogbane. I hope that pronunciation is correct.
Ogbane, that means
Ogbane.
complete.
Ogbane, which means that is complete, 4 plus 4, as you wished. But how are you after the election? What's your mood? Are you excited? What do you like to say to the electorate of Edo State? And do you have any fears going forward?
Thank you, Ruben, and thank you, all of you on Arise Television. I think for me, I'm humbled. I'm truly humbled because, you know, in the whole frenzy through the elections, you really never had time to sit back to reflect on what, you know, was going on. But now you have time to think through how we got here, and you just have no option but to be humble because it's only God, it's only the grace of God that could have made it possible to have left your party, accepted in the other party, contested elections and won. It's only God that could have made it possible. So it's very humbling. And, you know, on reflection, you say God must have a purpose, must have his reason why he has given you so much favor. And clearly for me, it's like, it's the fact that I should go back and commit myself to him and to work for the people of Edo State. So I say, so it's quite humbling. It's quite, I wouldn't say tiring. It's all exhausting, because you find out even though I should be tired and exhausted, I still have energy to do the things I need to do. We had a victory parade yesterday, and today a victory parade and a thank you tour of the city of Benin City, and today I'm going to start a thank you tour of the region. So, you know, we have so much to be grateful to God for. And, you know, the expressions from our people, the way they reacted, the passion they showed, you know, for me was just awesome. And, you know, when I reflect on it, I think of that old woman who asked her grandson to put him on his back, a crippled old woman who asked her grandson to put him on his back and take her out, put her on his back and take her to the polling unit for her to vote, because she just had to vote for me. When you think of those sort of incidents, you have no choice but to commit yourself totally to serving the people.
Indeed, that support must be truly awe-inspiring for you. But do you have a message for your fiercest opponent, Pastor Yamu, who so far is conspicuously silent? You've had a congratulatory message from the president, who advised you to be magnanimous in victory. Will you be accepting that advice? APC on the national level has also reached out to you, but your local Edo chapter of APC has been silent. What do you have to say to that? Do you have a message for your opponents in terms of the kind of acrimony that we all witnessed and you experienced directly during the campaigns, and how you'd like to proceed going forward?
You know, this is not the first time I'm contesting with Pastor Yamu. We have a relationship. We have family relationships, and he's a pastor, and I go to church. So we cannot live a life of acrimony or or hate. There's nothing, he played his politics the way he knows how to, and I did mine. I will be magnanimous if, he comes through. We'll have a conversation. There's enough room, a basis for us to have the sort of conversation I would like us to. So for me, I don't think the problem is Pastor Ezeyamu. I know him well. I think the problem are factors outside of him. The people who lured him into the contest, people who have tried to keep him in the contest, who I'm sure, are the same ones who are trying to fester the acrimony. So between myself and Pastor Ezeyamu, there are no issues at all, no issues. And the day he calls or he makes up his mind on what to do moving forward, I'm sure we'll be able to have a conversation. But there are people, who who work with him, who know what they have done, who know that they've been vicious and very evil. And I'll be surprised if those ones have the courage to even come up to say they want reconciliation or they want to move forward.
All right, I want to touch on those people. I want to touch on those people. If they come to you, would you stretch out the arms to them? I mean, we had Captain Osa Okumbo here some days before the elections, and he spoke. And there's also the Ashomole factor and a couple of other people, even some people say APC Lagos, doing a video to say they should reject you and the likes. I mean, if those people come to you in that spirit of brotherhood, because really when you look at it now, like Dr. Abati said in his article I read this morning, he said, God win. And God has won in all of this most importantly. Would you use that magnanimity of heart to say, it's all for the development of Edo, let's just all move on and get back to our lives? Would you forgive?
No, certainly. Certainly I have. I said for a person like Captain Osa, I have nothing against him. I don't have any issues. I was actually very surprised at the way he went about his the elections and his involvement in the elections. So I have no issues with him at all. He's a Benin man like me, and I have the responsibility as his governor to protect him, to look after his interests. So I have no issues. But for a person like Comrade Oshomole, it's just, I wouldn't want to say much, here. But clearly, when you find that you have been deceived, you don't share the same values, you don't trust at all, it's his responsibility to build back those trust, and to show you his real self and see that if his values align with what we represent as a people or what we want to do as a government. Clearly, I'm not, I'm not God that say will not forgive, but as we say in Edo, everybody should now maintain their lane. He should maintain his lane as whatever he is, and I'll maintain mine. I think for us, the challenge with people like Oshomole and Ahmed Tinubu is that except they change their style and attitude, they pose a big danger to our democracy because they are extra constitutional players. They've constituted themselves into what they say they are without any constitutional responsibilities and trying to overlord themselves over people who have constitutional authority. And if we allow them, to continue in the mold they are, it will destroy our democracy. And for me, it's that straightforward. I have no, it's not about personal issues. It's about their role in our democracy. You cannot have people who've been elected, who're guided by the Constitution in office, and people who don't have such mandate or authority, or even any checks on their conduct, come and say they want to upset or control people who have been properly constituted in office.
Well, Governor Obaseki, in the course of the campaigns, you had said, you and your team, you had managed to remove Oshomole as chairman of the party at the national level, and that after winning the election, you will get back to Oshomole and deal with him. I thought I read a story like that. Do you still feel that way right now? And then secondly, given the support that you have received, as it were, from the president, who immediately congratulated you, if the APC were to make overtures to you, to ask you to return to the APC, will you consider that? Will you go back to the APC where you were originally, just to prove a point?
At this point in time, I have been elected on a platform of a party, and I had made promises to the people of Edo State. It's not about me. I won election on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, a party which I'm a member now. I think it will be immoral and unfair to begin to even have any other consideration at this point about leaving the platform that gave me the mandate. There must be morals in politics. People must be ethical in their politics. At this point in time, I do not think that it is right, it's a proper thing to do, to jettison the platform that brought you into power, the party that brought you into power. Particularly, I have no issues, I have no challenge, I don't have any problems with the party now, and then jump ship. It doesn't arise at this point in time, that issue.
But the other question, Your Excellency, about the plan to drive Oshomole out of town.
I don't have any plans to. If he continues to behave the way he's always done, if he continues to be disruptive, if he continues to fund his lions and tigers in Edo State and tries to create problems for us here, then we will not have any mercy.
Wow.
So it's totally up to him.
Okay. I'd like to take you up on that commitment you just expressed to PDP, but first, going back to Adams Oshomole and your earlier comments about Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, are you describing them as non-state actors?
Well, they are non-constitutional actors. There's no role, at least when I was in APC, I was always surprised at the role of leader. There's nothing in the constitution of our country or even in the constitution of our party giving anybody the role as a leader. The title leader has no rules, no constitutional backing. I think it must be respectful titles that really should be earned out of respect, out of the consideration of the fact that they have been useful to the process. But it does not give them any constitutional roles. They cannot sit, in the comfort of their houses or wherever they are and determine who becomes what, who gets into what office, and even when those people get into those offices, how they should conduct and behave conduct themselves. It's very, very anti-democratic.
So going back to your relationship with PDP, it's noble of you to express the fact that you're not going to discard them, having contested and won on their platform. But how do you address the criticisms of politicians like yourself who decamp from one party to the next on the basis of ideology? How, for instance, will you run Edo State in the next 4 years, now that your ideological slant must change, now that you're a member of PDP, to more center-right than left, which is where the APC leans?
In my own analysis of a political spectrum, I really don't see those divides because if you look at the manifesto of both parties, the underlying themes, the underlying consideration is, to work for development of the state or of the nation. And we essentially have said we'll do the same sort of things. So I don't see that distinct difference at this point in time. Everybody, we want to provide services to our people. We want to provide security, safety, and all the good things that will make our people develop. And so that's what both parties are striving to do at this point in time. The issue may be how, but even then, within the Constitution, there's been no clear conversation, no clear distinction as to how. So I don't want to believe that that at this stage of the development or evolution of our political culture, that we have the difference in terms of, the ideological differences are not that sharp or distinct. Because even if you consider the APC itself, at least in Edo State, almost over 80% of the membership of the APC is derived from the PDP. So we're still early days in our democracy, and those distinctions you see in other countries are not as clear-cut yet here. As we do the things we need to do, provide infrastructure, provide all the necessary amenities to our people, may hopefully after that, in a couple of decades, we can now begin to talk about whether we use left or right. If listening to Pastor Izayamo and his agenda is, if you call this orientation left because he wants to provide, use government resources to provide services to our people, government resources which have seriously dwindled, and if you see that as left, then that may be different. But different because on our own part, we believe that we should enhance government. We should make government create the enabling environment to stimulate private sector, to stimulate people who want to do things. So I don't consider that ideologically different.
Okay. So I want to talk about those that stood by you, because a lot of people left you. Over 42 people left you at a point. But I want to talk about those that stood by you. I want you to say one thing about these people. I'm going to mention their names. Your Deputy Governor, Philip Shuaibu, Wike, Dan Obi. What's your take on these people that stood by you? And the second question from there will be, unemployment rate reduced from 25 to 19% under your watch. How can you bring that even further down to about 15 or 10% in the States? Just those two questions.
You can see my deputy governor and I, share certain values. That's why, through thick and thin, he was with me, and for us, it doesn't matter. What matters most importantly as a human being is your values, who you are, and how you see life. For him, it's not about money. It's about a belief. It's about his belief in God and in certain human values as truth, honesty. And what we're striving to do in our politics is that you don't have to be a crook. You don't have to be a fox to be a politician. You could be a normal person. You could be straightforward and still be a politician and succeed as a politician. The notion that, politics or politicians are almost akin to 419ers is one impression that we must remove from our politics. Politicians, I believe, are people who have said to themselves, to their God and to their community that they want to come and serve and have sought the support from their constituents to go and serve them, not serve themselves. So I think we should begin to understand that that's the way to go. And so for people who have supported me, I believe are people who share those values, and that's why I will always rely on them and work very closely with them. In the case of unemployment, everything we're doing is actually geared towards reducing unemployment.
So sorry to cut you in, Your Excellency. I mentioned Wike first.
Okay.
I'd like to know your take on Wike, because at first there was this big talk of him not supporting you, and finally he came around. I want to know your views on Governor Wike.
Governor Wike is, someone who, if he is not convinced about a situation or an idea, there's no way you can bully him into it. But once he's clear in his mind, once he's convinced, once he believes in you, you know him. He's a fighter. He will put everything into supporting what he believes in. I've not seen him as a duplicitous person. He's a very, very committed person to the PDP. He's very committed to the party, and he's also a very, very supportive person and a very considerate person. I mean, that's what I've seen of him. But he's, as you know, he's fearless. If he believes in a cause, he will fight that cause, and you can't cow him. And those qualities I admire greatly about him. It's not true that he did not support me. It's not true. People forgot that immediately I was disqualified. One of the people I first went to was him in Port Harcourt, and he then advised on what to do. And all that time, we were going back and forth. He was trying to make sure that certain issues were cleared so as to avoid challenges in the future. And I'm glad he did, because having had those issues sorted out early in the day, you could see how the process sailed very smoothly.
Right. Unemployment? On unemployment?
Unemployment. We believe that we can move the figures down considerably.